YouTube, what's poppin', man? It's your boy Ink in the Brain, and we are back at it like a bad habit. Shout out to everybody who's tuning in. So today, we back in the joint, all right? But we gonna discuss, prison mentality, difference between a 3-yard and a 2-yard. It all intertwines. And I'm also gonna share a story about my young partner that I was kicking it with on a 3-yard, and I saw him on a 2-yard, and he was still on his 3-yard stuff. So I'm gonna touch on that, all right? So, as always, this is for educational purposes only. My prison episodes are not to glorify prison, because ain't nothing cool about going away, being away from society, being away from your family, eating bad food, not being able to get women, unless you got enough mouthpiece to knock an ugly ass CO, you feel me? But yeah, man, I just want y'all to learn from my mistakes, all right? So, the difference between a 2-yard and a 3-yard. Number one, 2-yard is minimum custody, which means that, it's open. So you can go outside when you want. You can go on the phone when you want. You can walk in and outside. You feel me? If you got a homeboy in building 4 and you in building 2, you can walk outside and go to building 4 if you want. You feel me? So it's open. It ain't closed. It ain't closed custody. Like, it's not controlled movement. You feel me? So, which also means that obviously you're not going to have high level offenders on a 2-yard. You're not going to have anybody with life or somebody doing 25 years, things like that. Usually, at least in the state where I'm at in Arizona, I'm originally from California. I think it's the same in California too though, but if you got 5 years or less and your charges are non-dangerous or non-violent, 9 times out of 10, they'll send you to a 2-yard. Now, I was under the impression that I was going to hit it too, because I only got 2 years sentence. Damn, Chris Middleton got his shit lit. Chris Middleton, what happened? Oh, my bad, y'all. I got to sub this game on. He took an elbow from Jaylen Brown, and he leaking on the ground, man. Chris Middleton, man, I hope you're all right, bro. He literally leaked on the ground, but yeah. So if you non-violent, non-dangerous, usually and you below 5 years, they're gonna send you to a 2. I had an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which is an F2 felony, or excuse me, F3 felony, right? So they sent me to the 3. So a high 3-yard at that. So 2 yards gonna be minimum, mostly drug offenses, just little petty stuff normally, you feel me? 3-yard, you're looking at people who are doing big time. And then you got the 4-yard on top of that. The best way I can put it in layman terms for y'all, because I don't want to make this video too long, is a 2-yard is elementary school, a 3-yard is high school, a 4-yard is college, and then Supermax, that's PhD, master's degree level, right? Which means the academia level is going to be the hardest at that top, right? So, all right, so when I'm on the 3-yard, you feel me? I'm doing my thing, I'm working out, I'm having money, so I'm eating good. You feel me? I'm having all the music on my tablet, so I'm jamming out. I got a TV. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, my life was good. After I got adjusted and, met the kinfolk and it was all good, paperwork checked out, I was Gucci. I'm in that motherfucker rocking. Lightweight comfortable, which is kind of weird to say, because, you're in prison, there's nothing soft, there's no couches, no rugs or nothing like that, but the human mind is very adaptable, so you're going to adapt to your environment. So I'm like, man, fuck it, I'm in here, I'm rocking out, I only got 2 years, so I'm like, shit, I'm just going to rock out, so I'm chilling, right? Now, one of the youngsters on the yard, but we had a lot in common. We was kicking it. I ain't going to say his name just because of what I'm going to say about him in this video, and he's still in the same yard because I looked him up, but, we rocking out, so we working out. You feel me? He pulled up on my house, and we watching like Love Island, and we watching all the shows, feel me, The Bachelorette and shit. So we chopping up. Like, me and him used to have 3-hour conversation, 2-3-hour conversation damn near every day, just chopping it up. Feel me? Because in the joint, you got nothing but time. And by this time, he calmed down because, at one point in time, he was like when the yard was open, like in 2018, before the riot, there was a riot that happened, I think it was like in 19. But before that, and he was on that yard his whole bit. So before that, when the yard was open, he would go to the opposite side, and put in work. He would go, punch. He would punch on shit. He would, if there was an issue that needed to be handled, he would raise his hand and go handle it, no matter what building, where it was at, or what side of the yard was on, right? So he was going crazy. Feel me? Catching fighting tickets and things like that. So yeah, he going crazy, right? But when I met him, he was kind of on the trend of calming down, right? Because when I met him, he had like 4 more years ago. He was doing like 9. I think they sentenced him to not. No. I think they sentenced him to 9, or was it like 12? I think he has to do 9 after it's all said and done. So I think they gave him 12 and he has to do 9. I think that's what it was. Youngster though, he was like 23. So he was on, he was calming down, a little bit, we chilling, we rocking out, right? So fast forward, he leaves to go to a 2-yard. I'm like, all right, man, hey, I'm like, man, good to meet you, you feel me? It's all good, man, I got his information and shit. And he left. So comes my turn. Now, basically what happens is when you're doing time every 6 months, if you don't get caught for doing nothing, you're not fighting, you're not getting caught with hooch, you're not you're not doing things you're not supposed to be doing, you get caught with a new tattoo or something like that, well, your points are gonna drop. And when your points drop, that means that your level's gonna drop eventually. So if you're on a 4-yard, your points are this high, you go like 2 years with no tickets or nothing like that, they might drop you to a 3-yard if your years are low enough. You know what I mean? So the CO3, which is the person who's in charge of doing your paperwork, your inmate score and all that, he calls me into the office one day. He said, okay, you've been here this amount of time, you ain't got no trouble. Now, y'all, I ain't gonna lie, I was doing some things in prison. I'm not gonna act like I was an angel. I just didn't get caught, thankfully. Nothing too serious though. Maybe I'll touch on that in another video, man. But he's like, yeah, all right, so we're gonna move you to a 2-yard. I don't know when, but just be on the lookout. Like, all right, bet. And then my day comes. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I roll up my shit, say goodbye to the brodies that I did this time with, and I go to the 2-yard. So, mind you, I'm in Cheyenne, right? Which is Yuma, Arizona State Prison Complex, Yuma. But I was at Cheyenne, which is the high 3-yard deal. So Yuma has a few yards. They have a 4-yard, which is Dakota. They have the 3-yard. They have 2 3-yards. One which is Cheyenne, which is the most popping on the whole complex. And then they got Cibola, which is a low 3. If you're on a low 3, it's kind of like a 2 because you can go in and outside and things like that. But you might meet lifers there. You feel me? So it's like, it's a low 3, but people still have a lot of time there though. And on Cibola, you gotta be 25 and up to be there, so no youngsters is on Cibola. And then you got La Paz, and which is a 2-yard, and then they got Cocopah, which is a 2-yard. So they sent me to La Paz. So yeah, so I'm shackled up, but they don't tell you where they're gonna transit you to. So it's just a part of the game. You feel me? They ain't gonna tell you because I guess it's like a risk. Because if you're going to this yard, you can call your homie, hey man, yeah man, they're sending me to so-and-so, man, yeah, pull up at this time and follow the bus, man, and get me out and break me out. So that's what type of time I am on. All right, so boom, so I hit La Paz. So they shackle us up. It was only like 3 of us getting transferred over there that day. And and I'm like, why y'all shackling us up to go literally up the street? But it's prison, so they gonna treat you like a slave, shackle you up. We hit La Paz, they gonna strip search you, do all the homosexual shit, make you spread your ass cheeks, make sure you don't have no shake, make sure you have no drugs, things like that, right? So boom, so we get strip searched and all that. They tell me, okay, you in building 4, cell 1 lower. No, upper. Building 4D, 1 upper. So I'm like, all right. So I'm out to 4. Now, when I get through the compound looking around, I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, because, I'm coming from a 3, I'm coming from a high 3 where you on lockdown all day. It looks more intimidating. Like, Cheyenne looks way more intimidating than La Paz does. So, I'm like, what? And the energy is way different. Like, that's one thing, not to go on a tangent, but it's interesting how energy works because, and I said this on a previous video, when I first hit Cheyenne and 16 greeted me at the gate and was like, oh, y'all coming in here? And they cracked the gate and I walked through. when I tell you I felt the angst, I felt the animosity, I felt I just felt it in the air. You feel the years in the air when you walk down the run. It's like, damn, it's heavy in here. But when you walk in the 2, the energy is completely different. So it's weird how energy works. It's definitely weird, real. So, and I can feel it when I'm walking through. So I'm walking through, I'm like, all right. I'm like, this is where I'm at, okay. I'm like, man, what the hell is this? I'm like, oh yeah, this. Now, this is when it comes to the prison mentality, which I want to touch on, right? So you coming from a higher yard, you coming from places where you're doing time with lifers. Like I met a lot of lifers, became friends with lifers. I got stories about it on my channel. My boy who was sitting next to me at one point in time, Muhammad, feel me? I can say his name. You feel me? Good man. You feel me? Doing 25 life. Doing his time. He's real structured. You feel me? He doesn't curse. But he about business though, you feel me? But it's like, you meet all these different personalities. I met the white boy who killed his parents. You feel me? The lifer I got cool with, turns out he killed 3 family members in the house and it was the wrong house. So I'm meeting these people, I'm learning their stories, I'm like, damn. And then I'm seeing, people getting smashed out, in the closet, being left for dead pretty much. And I'm seeing, certain things, so I'm like, I'm not going to use the word traumatized because people kind of weaponize the word trauma in this day and age, in my opinion. But you see some things that will leave you not the same as how you came, right? Which therefore kind of makes you, gives you some sort of like false bravado. Like, oh yeah, I don't walk the yard with this type of individual and I was cool with this type of individual. And now you're coming up on this soft ass yard with these people who got 2 years and 6 months and heroin charges and things like that. You feel me? So you kind of think like you like big and bad to a certain degree, right? So yeah. So I hit. So when I opened up the door forward, and I was looking around, it's a big ass warehouse. I was seeing people in there just laid up on their beds, and people just chilling. Like it's completely different. Completely different. Now I was on a 3 yard for like 7 months, so it wasn't that long, but it was long enough though. Trust me, it was long enough. But when I walked in there, I could tell, like, oh, shit. Man, I must have walked in that month straight. Man, what? I walked in that, man, I'm like, oh, this ain't shit. I'm like, man, am I free? This shit ain't nothing, right? And then, so I walked to my cell, kind of find out my cell is the worst cell in the whole warehouse in Ford because I'm in one upper, but one is in front of the smoking bathroom. Okay, so you got a whole bunch of motherfuckers in the smoking bathroom smoking cigarettes all day. People talking shit, they hella loud. So I'm like, oh, hell no. And that's when I made content. I just did a video doing time with pimping. Feel me? Watch that video if you want to learn about content. But yeah, I made content with my celly. And shout out to bro, man. Shout out to Hot Dog, man. That was my brody, man. It's a fucking shame, right? Because he gave me like, before I left, well, let me just say, I ended up leaving this yard after like 3 weeks, right? But before I left, I pulled up on him, I'm like, yeah, man, they brought me up, man. I gotta go to Buckeye, man. Or excuse me, I gotta go to Winslow, man. And he's like, oh, okay. He was like, he gave me his bottom bitch's phone number. And he was like, yeah, man, hit me up when you get out, you feel me? And what they won't. I'm like, okay. And then come to find out, man, when I got transferred to Winslow, man, they took that information out my box. So I didn't even have Brody's number, man. So it's a damn shame. But shout out to Hot Dog, bro. But yeah, man. So I'm in there, I'm rocking, right? So I'm like, okay, man, this is a piece of cake. So we go to rec. I go to rec that day. I see my young partner that I was on Cheyenne with. I'm a 3 yard with. So I see him like, hey man, what's up, man? Oh, cool, man. What's up, man? He still look the same. He getting like a little bigger. You feel me? Like I said, at this time, he got like 3 more years to do. So, I'm getting the rundown. I'm like, hey, man, what it's like on the yard? You feel me? Is there drama? You feel me? What they want? And he's like, oh, man, this yard soft as hell, man. What they want, you know what I mean? But he's like, but come fuck with me, though. I think he was in building like 6 on the other side of the yard. And he runs store now. And he run the pod for the blacks. You feel me? So I'm like, damn, because when he was on the 3 yard, I'm not gonna say he was broke because he was getting store every week, but his bag wasn't as fat as it was when I seen him, on the 2 yard. So So he done ran a bag up on it too, right? So I'm like, okay, and he runs stores. So I'm like, RIP. I'm like, man, I need to fuck with your store, because when you transfer yards, you can't order store, which is commissary, for 2 weeks. So he like, it's good. Pull up on me, right? So I went to his sale, got the essentials. I think if I can remember correctly, I got 4 soups, 4 tunas. I want to say a couple protein shakes, a jar of peanut butter, 2 soaps. I think that's it. Maybe 2 bags of white rice too. But just some regular, right? So he run it in. I'm like, all right, bet. But he checking paperwork in there. Like, he really running shit in there. So he checking niggas' paperwork. He's smashing all shit in there. There was one situation, right, where I pull up on him like maybe 2 days after our first touchdown, and they had just a new brother pulled up. I don't really know I don't know the reason of the season, you feel me? But he pulled up. My little partner told him that he had to get DP'd in the bathroom. All right, I'm like, I know why, but I'm not gonna say it, right? Pull him in the bathroom. They 2-on-1 him. They beat him up, right? But bro took it to the chin. You feel me? So, but his face was lumped up. So I go walk into the building, and he's posted. It's funny. He's posted just like I was right there. He posted on the wall just like this. I walk through the door, and I see him. He's actually to the left though. But I see him. I'm like, hey man, what's up? I'm like, oh, what's up with it, man? But he on guard though. I'm like, bro, what's happening, man? I'm like, everything good? He like, yeah, man. He's like, I'm just keeping a lookout because, we had to just do some things that we didn't want to have to do, but we had to do. You feel what I'm saying? So I just need to make sure that when the COs do their runs, that he doesn't tell them anything that he doesn't need to tell them, or if they pull him out the cell, then he knows what time it is. So he basically keep on guard. He got a watch on, doing and everything. You feel me? So he really running shit. So I'm like, damn. And like I said, he checking niggas' paperwork and shit. So, mind you, he doing 12 years and got to do 9 to get out, but he only got 3 more left. So this is what I want y'all fellas to realize, right? This is the prison mentality. This is getting, how you say it's like institutionalized, right? Because on a 3 yard, it's real political. On a 3 yard, if somebody's all bad or they do something, if they fucking up, they gotta get DP'd. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You know what I mean? It's just how it goes. But on a 2 yard, everybody going home in below 5 years. So do you really want to smash somebody out and risk them getting brain damage or risk them breaking their neck or dying? Like a story that I told on a previous video about somebody dying on a 3 yard, right? But Lil Brody, he on that same type of time, but he doing it to a 9th degree because he's running up store money. I ain't gonna say he's extorting niggas, but he like when he extorting niggas, he like the big, bold, and buff tough guy on a 2 yard, you feel me? And hey, it is what it is. If you ain't gonna see him about it, or if you ain't bigger, better, tougher than he is, and you don't knock his ass out or stab him up, then shit, his word goes in the pot. You feel me? It is what it is. So yeah, man. So I'm like, damn, Brody. And then I looked him up. On the inmate locator. He had just caught a fighting ticket about like 5 months ago. You feel me? So I'm like, Brody in there really running 3 yard politics on a bootsy ass 2 yard. You feel me? And I'm like, Brody, you getting out? Well, he's supposed to get out next year. But the reason for this video, y'all, is just to, like I said, I wanted to touch on briefly the differences between a 2 and a 3. I wanted to touch on my mindset, when I got bumped down from a 3 to a 2, and my little Brody's mindset when he was there running the yard, doing the shit that he's doing, right? And he rocking out in there, you feel me? Like his word was going in there, you feel me? He in there getting tatted by niggas, you feel me? And he doing his thing though, you feel me? He ran, like I said, he run the store and shit. Matter of fact, here's the last thing I'm gonna leave y'all with, right? So, it was maybe a week. Basically, after I ran out that store I got from him, I go to see him again. You know what I mean? Because I'm paying back. I just ain't gonna get my store for 2 weeks, right? So I go see him again. So I'm like, hey man, I need some more Thai soups because I used to eat the Thai soups all the time. So I think I asked him for like 2 Thai soups and like maybe some tuna and rice or something like that, just something regular. But he had just sold out the Thai soups. But he was like, hey, go holler at Lil D. You feel me? He in what was he in? Wherever building he was in. He told me to sell him, go holler him, right? So I'm like, okay. So I go pull up on Lil D like, hey, little bro sent me to get some soups. He give me the soups, no problem. So, so basically, long story short, right? When I go to pay back little brother for the soups, well, he wasn't there. I go to see him to pay him back the soups because my store finally hit, you know, like 2 weeks later, right? And he ain't there. So I go to my little brother cell. I'm like, hey man, I'm like, Lil D ain't at that spot, right? And he was there with like 2 other youngsters, and they kind of looked like they was having a conversation, like conversation at the round table, right? I'm like, hey man, where Lil D at, man? I owe him a couple soup. And he was like, oh, he's like, don't worry about it, man. You give it to me, man. I'm like, sure. He's like, yeah, man, because you know, we gotta talk to Lil D. We gotta talk to him anyway, man. So yeah, just give me the soups, right? So I'm like, I started looking in his eyes, and I was just like, man, I'm like, you on bullshit, bro. You out here really politicking, you feel me? Like you on the high 3 yard still. Like, bro, you going home soon, you feel me? So yeah, man. So yeah, so you know, I'm gonna leave y'all with this for real, man. If you got some time to do, you know, you want your points to go down, not higher. And I understand the mindset because I've been there. You feel me? But your ultimate goal is to get free as quick as possible. I don't want to see you catching 90-day tickets or catching a charge that gives you 2 more years, or you know, your good time is fucked off because you smashed somebody out. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. You want to get out of prison as quick as possible. And if it costs you feeling like you hard or you the man on the yard, whatever the case is, then so be it, man. Fuck prison. Fuck being a slave to the state. Fuck paying restitution. Fuck eating all that bullshit ass, garbage ass food, that processed bullshit that people glorify in prison. Fuck all that, man. Come home to your family. You know what I'm saying? Come home to a nice woman. You know what I mean? Come home to freedom. You know what I'm saying? But hey, this your boy Inky in the Brain, man. If you like the video, hit the like button. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'm going to catch y'all on the next one, man. We on the 2 yard now. But I'm going to still touch on the 3 yard stuff too, moving forward too. But we on 2 yard now. Y'all be smooth and be solid.